This week on the PS Premiere podcast, special guest Rob Hudak makes a weird noise. Dory tries to name Led Zeppelin albums.
It's basically graffiti or whatever.
And special guest Rob Hudak recalls his experience using Twitter.
I don't want to say it's a fetish house, but it's essentially a bunch of grown men in diapers.
Hello and welcome to the 30th episode of the PS Premiere podcast. We upload a new episode of this podcast every week. If you like this, then please subscribe to us on YouTube at PS Premiere. Subscribe to the podcast feed on your podcast channels. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, yada yada yada. I'm your host, James Smith, and today I'm joined by series regulars Dory.
I was told that tricks are for kids, but luckily Twix are not for kids, so I am still safe. I go by she, her pronouns, and you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at dclaire192. And I have been streaming Concrete Genie lately, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Also, Seb.
Hi, I'm Sebastian. You can follow me at LittleSeb93. I hope you're all having a great week.
And special guest, returning special guest, I think one of our first returning special guests, Rob from Draft Punks. Hey, Rob.
Hi. Oh, hey, hi, hello there. How y'all doing this fine Friday evening now?
Oops, just let me squeeze right by you.
Yeah, Rob, do you want to tell us where we can find Draft Punks and what is Draft Punks for any of our new listeners?
Absolutely. So on all our socials, like Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch, it's real Draft Punks because there were some fake ones that we had to attend to, but we couldn't get the name. So you can find us there. We also, if you're listening to podcasts, all your Apple, Google, regular podcast preferred services, just search for Draft Punks. We have a lovely logo made for yours, Alex Brenigar. And yeah, so Draft Punks it's a fun one. We every week pick a topic and then go through kind of like a fantasy football draft, pick things on the board essentially for our lists that we make. We make our draft. It's the series hosts, myself, Brian Keese, and Travis McGahee. And then we have guests every week it's usually something people are like super fond of or known for loving. We just wrapped up all of February was Zelda month because we were celebrating the 35th anniversary. And we've had Kyle Hilliard on there. We had Haley McLean. We had a couple people from the Spelunkers, Chris and Tyler. And yeah, it's great. We just sit around making weird lists every week of things from Zelda locations to birds to MCU movies to Disney characters. So it's a great time.
Yeah, just regular everyday stuff.
Swear words sometimes.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, no, Draft Punks is a great time. I recommend anyone check it out. So yeah, let's just move right on to what we've been playing. Seb, you want to take us away on this one?
Sure, I've been playing two games. Today I beat Halo 3 for the first time since 2007. It still holds up really well. I'm hoping to beat the whole series by the time Infinite comes out, because I actually never played 4 and 5 and ODST and all those ones. Like, I just totally missed those, so I'm gonna try to do that. And I also beat Mario 3D World, the main game, not the Bowser Fury one. Overall, fun game. I really enjoyed it. I did play it by myself, so I guess I lost out on the multiplayer aspect of it. But yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the last world?
You mean like the last actual level or the whole thing?
Well, both.
Yeah, both. Well, first of all, I didn't like that it required 170 stars. That was a real grind. I had to go back, and I was just like, oh.
It's a tedious Mario staple.
Yeah, because I thought I was gonna finish the game, and I was like, oh, I got another hour and a half of this. Damn. And then the boss, I guess they kind of tacked on 3 bosses that were really simple to beat, and then I thought the last level with Bowser. I guess it's not a spoiler. Bowser's the final boss in every game.
What?
When he turns into a cat. When he turns into a cat, that was just weird.
Wait, Doug Bowser? I can't believe it.
They should do that in a game. I would.
They really should.
Yeah.
That
But, like,
would be a joke like 90% of the Nintendo
So they-
Pacific audience just wouldn't get.
Yeah. So they had Fury Bowser and then they had Furry Bowser, and it was very strange. The cat
That
Bowser.
does sound strange.
Yeah.
Going back to Halo though, real quick,
Yeah.
because you also said you played
Okay.
Halo 3.
Yeah, I beat it.
Yeah, I tried playing those games. I have a weird relationship with those games. Like everyone always talks them up as like some of the best first person shooters of all time, and maybe it's just because they haven't aged. Like maybe you had to be there at the time in like the zeitgeist and everything. But I've played them a couple of years ago, and
Mm.
I'm like halfway through the third one. I haven't gone back to it yet, but I don't find them particularly memorable at all. Really, like the stories. I'm sure people love the multiplayer in those games as well, but
How dare you? No,
I really do think the multiplayer was a huge part of why Halo was so good. Not
Yeah.
necessarily the story. The story's okay, but I mean, there's nothing incredible about it. Maybe it was incredible for its time. I don't know.
I distinctly remember with the first Halo, at least, having a LAN party back in the day. For those who don't know, LAN parties are basically hooking up every system to each other in one hub, and then what we would do is we'd have a different console in each room. And so when you have 16 people shooting rockets at each other and can scream at each other and run into the other room, it adds a lot to that experience. It's old school, like Doom did the same thing, but they did not age particularly well. It's really tough going back and playing the original Halo. And the conventions and expectations that we've come to expect, especially like I know you in particular are a big fan of Smithy, is like Call of Duty, and how I don't want to say arcadey, but like how tight and fast moving the pacing always is in the combat in that game.
Yeah.
And with Halo, it wasn't as much about that. But yeah, for its time, they were definitely like evolutionary and like groundbreaking. But going back to them now, it's more of a novelty of appreciating what they've provided. But
And I mean,
yeah, I don't hold on.
I played them on the Master Chief Collection, and they have their sort of, you can tell that they're not new games. Like they're clearly the basis for a lot of modern first-person shooters, but like first-person shooters have clearly evolved way past there by now. But I can, like, even playing them now, I can still see why they were popular at the time.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I was impressed with the cutscenes. When they remade all the cutscenes. Like I was kind of blown away by it. Though Halo, even though the story I guess is not the greatest in the games, I know there's a huge lore to it and there's books and stuff. People absolutely love that storyline. So
I think there's a whole PvP video about Halo lore, isn't there? I mean, if you can do if you can have a Brian David Gilbert video about some video games lore, then it has
You've arrived.
going on. You've arrived. I mean, Kingdom Hearts, Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. Dark Souls.
I would say
right.
Halo 1 and 2, when they remade it, or not remade it, they remastered it. It looks a lot better than Halo 3, because Halo 3 they kind of stuck with the 360 graphics and they upscaled it, so it looks kind of rough, honestly.
It just like the frame rate is fully solid, but like the textures
honestly,
are.
Yeah, I don't want to take us too much of a tangent, but honestly, that's probably what's going to happen with Mass Effect. 1 and 2 are going to look better than 3, and 3 is going to look kind of outdated.
Yeah, I can see that actually.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of Halo fans getting like something like the Master Chief Collection. Because there are so many. As someone who had a PS3 for most of its life cycle and not an Xbox 360, there are so many gems on that platform that are just locked there that are probably not popular enough to get remade or remastered or escape the PS3 in any way, which is such a shame, because like that system is like a time lock. Like there's just so many games on there that because there's no backwards compatibility on PlayStation 3 for PlayStation 3. There's just so many great games on there that you can't play unless you have a PS3. I mean, even as someone who has a PS3, I can never be arsed to just plug it in and set up everything.
Yeah, because streaming sucks on PS now. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I never spent much time, or I didn't have a PS3 until late in the cycle because I primarily had I was like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, then swapped over to Xbox 360 and back and forth ever since then. But I didn't get a PS3 until the end of the generation. And so I didn't spend much time going back and playing like Resistance, or like I played Killzone 1 and 2 and loved those games. Those are great shooters. They didn't age particularly. Some of them didn't age particularly well. Resistance, I thought was really good, but it didn't have as much to pull me in at the time. But I would love to have a Resistance collection, like modernized, remastered, brought back to like the PS4, PS5, just so people can, like with Master Chief Collection, go back and experience those games that were so pivotal for developers like Insomniac.
Yeah.
That's I mean, yeah, they're known for the cartoon platformers, but also like they branched out and tried some other stuff, and they were
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No, those games.
'Cause
I love those games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went back and tried out the Killzone games, the original ones on PS Now. And yes, I was streaming it, but it ran fine. But wow, I could not play it. It was so unplayable. Like I'm like, wow.
His buddy.
This is how games were back then. I was like, did I just not notice this? I don't know. But
Yeah, it's hard going back and looking at them.
Well, real quick, I have one problem with the Master Chief Collection is that they didn't put Halo 5 on there, and I don't have an Xbox because I play all my Xbox games on PC. So now I have to get an Xbox to play it. So
I'm sure it'll make its way to PC eventually.
I don't know, honestly.
They've said that it's not on their priority. They have no intention of focusing on it anytime soon, which is a shame because I agree. Like it seems like a no-brainer. Granted, it's kind of the weakest narratively of the entire games, but it's still valid and worth having on that whole collection. But not having it on is unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure.
Isn't Halo 4 like the one that has a great story but bad multiplayer, and then 5 has the great multiplayer but the bad story?
I liked the multiplayer in 4, but it wasn't like I think people kind of wanted it more to be like Reach, which I get, but I thought the story was doing some interesting stuff in 4, but 5 was just not what people were led to expect in any way, and just kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
But
so this is now our Xbox Nintendo podcast.
Well, let me bring it back. Like going back to Resistance real quick. I'd love particularly. I mean, I'd love a remaster of the first 3 games, but I'd love a new game. And this is like a very me thing. This would only be for me. But I 2 of my favorite things in video games: photo modes and the enemy designs in the Resistance games. So if they made a new Resistance game and it had the photo mode from Miles Morales, where you can manipulate light sources and everything, and
we'd never see James again.
And
God,
he would take a 2-week hiatus. Probably.
Could you imagine like a photo mode that you could choose the poses of an enemy as you shoot them in the head once they're dead? You could like manipulate their body into different positions.
That would be incredible.
And just like different types of kills that you did, or just
Rob,
different.
You're going down a dark road with James, and you need to stop.
I respect and understand it. Like
you're opening Pandora's box right now. Be careful.
I mean, I would look at his photos. They're great photos. I respect it. Someone who likes taking photos in Demon Souls, like sometimes you just get good scenes. You just want to show off.
Yeah,
I get it.
Absolutely. But yeah, let's move on to you, Rob. What have you been playing this week?
A lot. Well, first and foremost, what I'd probably put the most time in before it actually released, just in the demo alone, was Loop Hero, exclusively to PC currently. It's been kind of blown up. It just reached 500,000 sales this week, which is bananas. And congratulations to the team. But yeah, it's a Devolver Digital published joint. And it was, if you remember, during the Game Awards, it was their 2021 Game of the Year shtick they did. It's difficult to describe, but I appreciate that about it. But the elevator sales pitch of it is it's a digital board game where you play as a dungeon master as you oversee like a pixel representation of yourself on a loop, and you make your life more difficult to then fight a boss and then get resources. It's like a roguelite in some senses, where you're like getting resources that you can use to upgrade and get different cards that are tiles essentially for this map that you're building, because you started at a camp on a loop, and then as you progress through the loop, you fight like slimes, and then you start getting cards that add things like vampire mansions where vampires can show up in fights, cemeteries where skeletons start showing up, and so on, mountains to increase your health points. But you don't engage in combat directly in any way, so that's where the comparisons to like idle games is coming up, because you're not directly one-to-one controlling combat. But it's still like semi-turn based, like active time battle almost system, where you're controlling the stats to make your hero fight better. And as you continue the loop, you get more resources and upgrade, and then go to different chapters. And there's this really interesting narrative where at the beginning of the game, you see that all life and creation was destroyed in an instant by this floating skeleton lich that's hanging in the sky. And then you start to slowly remember, okay, so there was a campfire, and then as you remember a campfire, it like metaphysically manifests. And so then people start forming like, yeah, I also remember there were forests at one point, and then there were skeletons. And so like it starts to unfold in a really weird, like cosmic horror kind of way. It's neat. But it's kind of been blowing up, and it's really been nice to see. Like, I've already put like 50 hours in at this point, and it's such a great like strategy game. But it feels a lot like, as someone who loves board games, it feels a lot like someone who also DMs. It feels like being able to put a player in a situation and see how they progress through it with a board game format. It's really good. I just wish it would come to other platforms eventually. But if you have a PC, please check it out. It's $15.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this recently. I'm curious though, as like a roguelike, is it a roguelike or a roguelite?
So if you're adhering to the strict definition of what like a roguelike is, where there's absolutely no progression whatsoever, and a roguelite where there is some semblance of progression that you continue run to run, it falls in the latter camp where there is progression, like you're getting those resources on a loop. And so on a loop, if you make it back to your camp after a full cycle, you can retreat, bring all the resources to you or with you. If you want, you can retreat at any point. You bring 60% of those resources, and if you die, you bring 30% of those resources. So it becomes a constant like cost benefit analysis, like every loop seeing, okay, do I have enough hit points to continue along? But yeah, you're still getting materials that you're building up your camp that you start at, and then by doing so, you unlock cards that you can increase in your tile set. So like eventually you can build, or you can unlock other classes. So you start with a warrior, you can unlock a rogue and necromancer, and then you can start getting stuff like forests, which have different values that increase stats for your character on your run.
So I am curious, as because it seems like roguelikes then are a lot rarer these days, because roguelites seem like the more popular format. Well, it is certainly it's what I enjoy more as well.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of it comes down to the fact that people want to feel some sort of progress rather than just the whole getting good of understanding the mechanics themselves. But yeah, it's like, I think Hades perfected it too, because you also got story progress for completion. But yeah, it's I think Rogue Legacy was one of the first roguelites that really spoke to people, and then from there that format and formula really started to grab holds. Like, yeah, okay, give me a little bit of progress I can build towards and get some momentum, so I'm not constantly like beating my head against the wall, so to speak.
Yeah, just be careful bringing up Hades, Rob. We don't talk about Hades in these parts anymore, because maybe one of us here has talked about it a couple times. So
it might have been DraftPunk's game of the year. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm gonna unfortunately move back to Hades with my next question, which is,
God damn it!
I want to know how it stacks up against like some popular roguelites of recent years, like Hades and Dead Cells.
It's hard to compare because it's nothing like them.
Right.
There's another game that I've been playing that is, I would say, much more in spirit and mechanics, reminiscent of something like Hades, and it's an isometric action RPG. But this is like, if you like board games and like strategy games, this can really tickle that part of your brain that gets like a feedback on making the numbers go up. But also, like, I know a lot of people, it's one part of the popular part of the discourse right now is that it looks uglier, or that it's like looks dated, and like, yes, it has a retro pixel aesthetic, but I think it looks beautiful at representing what it's going for, because it's part of it's part of a theme and aesthetic and atmosphere that it's going for. Music is killer. Music's great. It's great. Toss it on for each run. Like, it runs on practically anything. I've tested it out on very, very low spec computers, and it runs near flawlessly, which is, I mean, the highest requirement was that it was Windows 7. That's that's what we needed. So yeah, it's, if Hades was a game that introduced you to roguelites, and you're like, okay, well, I like that, what else is in the genre? And if you're on Steam and then you go down that tab and you see Loop Hero, it's not at all gonna satisfy that. But there is another game that I can bring up here shortly that might. But check it. If you have a PC, please check it out.
Sure. What was that? What's that other game then? You want
So
to
that
enlighten
one
us?
is called Curse of the Dead Gods. Now, those of you who listened to the most recent episode of Game Informer heard Marcus talk a bit about it. That game had been in early access for about a year or so and change, I think. But so similarly, isometric action RPG, you're looking down from like a diagonal corner spot, and then you're going through. There are two important things to note with the game is that, like, one of the main mechanics is light and dark, and that you're basically a dungeoneer or a tomb excavator going through this cursed temple, inherent into the name. But you're at the beginning of every run, there's like an assortment of these altars before you, and you can, as you progress through, and that's what makes this a roguelite, is that you can start unlocking multiple altars, multiple weapons, but you have basically a weapon loadout that you can start with, such as like a dagger in one hand, a claw in another hand, and then for your two-handed weapon, like a spear. But you also always have your torch, so you can light braziers and set enemies on fire, activate traps. But you also engage with the world in something akin to like a Slay the Spire map, where they're like at the bottom there maybe 3 or 4 starting nodes that you can pick, and then from there they kind of splinter off, some interconnected, where you can see an icon that, okay, this one I guarantee is going to heal me, this one is going to give me a new weapon, this one's going to upgrade my weapon. So you can start charting a path, and from there the core gameplay is like, you have your weapons, you're attacking, you can parry, you can dodge, but you have stamina, that like a stamina system underneath your main character profile that it's a resource that you have to constantly manage, where some attacks will drain stamina, dodges will also drain stamina. So you're constantly, it's a lot more tactical, I'd say, and a little bit more strategic than something like Hades, which is like a flawlessly designed game as far as like its combat mechanics are concerned. This has some interesting ways of breaking some of those, but it's also worth pointing out, like, this game technically released after Hades, but it is useful to use Hades as like a skeleton for a foundation, but it's still doing plenty of things that are different that is worth shouting out. And it's only like $25. It's on like every platform right now. Runs great. The art style's fantastic. It looks like a comic book. I know that Marcus and Ben were talking about how it looked something akin to Darkest Dungeon, and it does, but part of that is because it is heavily inspired by, and the art director had even shouted this out, it's heavily inspired by Mike Mignola, who did Hellboy, the Hellboy comics, and it's very much pulled from that art style. It looks beautiful. Music's great. Combat feels flawless. The parry system feels great. Yeah, if you can, please check it out.
Yeah. Was there anything else you've been playing, or just
one other thing?
Okay.
Yakuza 7. Or
Right.
Yakuza Like a Dragon.
We shall get to that.
Yeah.
But for now, I want to hear what Dory's been playing this week.
I have been playing some of the similar stuff I've been playing last week. I've been playing Grindstone, still a good for podcast, for listening to a podcast or just waiting for things to happen. Like if, for example, you're in the doctor's appointment. And then, I guess the most I have to say about it right now is like it's getting more challenging. There are more different types of enemies, different types of obstacles, but I have I have so many resources at this point because I really know how to play the game. At least, I'll tell myself that I do. And that I can often refill on things that, because you have all these things that will, like you have a shield or a bow or all these things that cost certain resources. And you get those resources by killing the creeps, which are the names of the monsters, or collecting treasure chests or gathering certain materials or whatever. But I've just gotten so much of that at this point that it's pretty easy to refill, and so that makes the resources not feel as weighty. But that kind of is balanced out by tougher enemies and more diverse enemies. So it's a really good balancing act that this game has going on right now. I'm really impressed with it. I've also been playing Carrion. Of course, mostly what I have to say about it still is crunch. Similar to Grindstone, it's getting more challenging, but doesn't feel unfair. Like there are certain mech suits that I have to fight now, and like I've had to fight guys with flamethrowers. I haven't gotten as much story as I expected to get by now, but I'm guessing that's going to happen anytime now. Because there is a sort of a background story to Carrion. So I've been really enjoying it. It's not like terrific or anything, but it's certainly not bad. It's very basic, standard. I don't know. It sounds weird to say standard game where you play the monster and eat people because they're not a ton of.
I don't
those
think
kinds
that's a
games.
standard. Yeah,
It's apparently the standard. But no, it's a pretty good game. It's serviceable. And you can get it for pretty cheap. So definitely give it a shot. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm hoping to finish it by next week. Something I did finish, that transition, is Sea of Solitude. I just finished it last night. Apparently, I had like 45 minutes to go. I thought I had like hours, but no. It kind of came to an abrupt ending, but there is one line. It hit me really hard towards the end where I won't get into too many specifics. I don't want to do any spoilers. But one of the characters, it finally has people around her, and she doesn't want to let them go, and she just doesn't want to like lose them as well. And one of the characters says this line, and they say something like, "It's not about loss, it's about progress." And like that really hit me really hard. Like sometimes to make progress in your life, like you gotta let go of things, and like that's a lesson I've had to learn in really hard ways. So it was a really good line. It's little moments like this I think that really make the game for me. Like I don't think it's definitely not a 5 out of 5 kind of game for me. It's like more like 4 out of 5. But it's the writing can be a little on the nose, and there's some frustrating sections. But this is like one of those games where the genuineness, whatever you want to say, is like what really matters for me in this game. Like this is a small dev team, I'm pretty sure. Like they're from like another country, so they're dealing with like language issues. And so like I really appreciate the attempt here. I think it's a really good, I read this like really hypercritical review of it, and I wasn't big into it because it's like, oh, there's so many audio logs in this game, but it's a video game. I'm like, but it's a multimedia experience. Like you're not supposed to just,
Yeah.
But
I actually, fun fact, I actually wrote
yeah.
a review for this game, which is probably it's long gone now on a website that is no more. But I was, as I've mentioned before in the podcast, I like the game a lot. I do remember I played it when it came out and I haven't played it since, but I do remember the ending being one of the weaker parts for me. It wasn't as memorable as some of the other moments in the game.
It's definitely not a moment that's going to stick with me too much. It does kind of just end abruptly, and I didn't really get the closure with certain characters that I was hoping for. But honestly, I still felt impacted by this game. I felt like a lot of the metaphors were done well, and a lot of the lessons were given well. I didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome at all, which was my big problem with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And so yeah, I really liked it. I'd recommend it if you have an interest in mental health and can deal with tough conversations about stuff like that. I think you could definitely do worse. I think it's a pretty decent thing.
Yeah, I heard you mention it last week's episode, and I was interested in it when it first came out, but I never did just because like I was not in a good place to really play it when it came out.
Yeah, totally
Uh,
understandable.
but yeah, it's been making me like hearing you talk about it. Maybe want to go back and check it out at some point.
Yeah, I don't, the gameplay is certainly not revolutionary, but
Right.
the platforming's surprisingly good. And like, there's only one chapter I can say, chapter 10, that is agonizingly frustrating. But besides that, everything else is pretty evenly paced and well executed.
I'm telling
Generally,
you,
I mean,
EA Originals, there's some hidden gems on there.
yeah.
I'll keep saying it.
I will talk about another hidden gem, which is the vanishing of Ethan Carter. I have been wanting to play this for a while now. I love detective games. And so I really wanted to get my hands on this. I bought it from the indie sale a couple weeks ago from the PlayStation Network. And I mean, it is gorgeous. I don't care that there are dead people or crows everywhere, or like there's like
Is that a bad thing?
trains with blood on it. Like, it doesn't matter to me. This place is beautiful. I just want to go for a nice walk here, you know what I mean? And I mean, that's kind of all you do in this game is you walk around. So the game starts off with this very I think it's a little much, but whatever. The game is like, this is I don't remember exactly what it says, but this is an interactive game that will not hold your hand or something like that, right? And we can talk about, right, like Rob, you and I have talked about how Fi or Fee or whatever from Skyward Sword holds the hand too much. But damn it, holding
Some
hands
say
is something.
strangle it.
Yes. Do you want to remember how much this ruby is worth?
No.
For the millionth time, how this game function works for the millionth time when you don't need to. But look, there's some hand holding I think that is good in games, and I hand holding is just a nice thing in general, and I just don't think we should be using that in a bad way. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten further in this game than I thought I was gonna, because I was like, oh, okay, it's not gonna hold my hand. Well, I could be, I could be in trouble. But I've gotten through most of the puzzles in the first couple hours that I played last night without a guy. There was only one that I needed help with, and a lot of people needed help with it by the looks of it. Of course, those are that's the video they flock to, so who knows? But overall, I found it. I guess the way I would describe it, and I've never described a game like this, is engrossingly frustrating. It is. I always want to know what's happening, what's going to happen next, but the process of getting there is always so mysterious that when you do finally figure it out, you do kind of feel like a detective. You're like, damn, I figured that shit out. Like,
that was The Witness for me. I would say that phrase totally encapsulates that game.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever played a game where I really feel engrossed by it. I want to know what's going to happen next. There's some weird culty shit going on with lots of crows, which made me think about you, Rob. Even though I know it's like a raven, not Rook or whatever. But,
same family, Corpay.
Similar genus, right? But anyway, so I was like, damn, they're all worshiping Rob. This is really weird.
I don't know what I did.
I know, right? But anyway, so yeah, really interesting game. I've only played it for the first few hours, and I've just gotten to a new mechanic introduced. And so yeah, I'm and very pretty. Just incredibly pretty. I've taken a few photos. One reason I wanted to play it on my PS4 was that I didn't have to worry about frame rate or graphics or anything like that. So I just put that sucker on unlimited frames. I get like every now and then, like a split second, it'll chug, but it's hardly noticeable, honestly. I had to look really closely just to notice it. The writing is very strong and the voice acting is okay. The writing is incredibly strong so far, which of course it kind of has to be, right? Because it's a walking simulator or whatever.
Yeah. I haven't played it or really seen much of it, but I'm familiar with it. It's kind of like Edith Finch, right?
Yeah, it's a little like Edith Finch or like Firewatch or one of those games. Firewalk, whatever it's called.
Firewalk with me.
Yeah. Firewatch with me. Yeah, that's what it's called.
We didn't start the Firewatch.
The only other game I've been playing is Concrete Genie. I started streaming that this week. It is charming as all heck. I get like real Luigi's Mansion 3 vibes from how charming this game is because I love Luigi's Mansion 3. And it makes me feel like an artist, makes me feel like I could actually do this stuff, which is not true. But 10 out of 10 for this game, just for making me think that I could actually do something. I like posted a picture of one of my first ever like paintings on a wall. It's not even a painting. I guess it's a painting, but it's basically graffiti or whatever. But
urban mural.
What's that?
Urban mural.
Urban mural. That's right. And the people behind Concrete Genie actually liked it, which was cool.
Yeah, I saw that. That's dope.
It took me a little bit to get used to the controls, and it's kind of weird graphics. There are some times where I preferred the animated graphics over the normal graphics because it'll switch between two different kinds of graphics at times, and I'm like, I actually kind of like this one a little more. Can we stick with this? But the normal graphics are fine as well.
Yeah, it reminded me of I think it came up on one of your streams. It reminds me, I think it might have been even Chris from Hello Hyrule. It reminds me a lot of Psychonauts.
Interesting.
And
yeah,
I could see that. Yeah.
It's not quite the same, but there's definitely like a caricaturization of its characters that like certain facial features and body parts are like chiseled and defined in interesting ways, but it looks really good too.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Only other thing is that gameplay is just kind of okay. It took me a little bit to figure out, and once I did, I'm like, this is mildly satisfying, I guess.
It's like a relaxing, like nice, like 10-hour game in between like a big game you just got over.
That's honestly how I feel after Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I really need a palate cleanser and
just release. Because there's no like hard moments, like there's no consequences to getting caught or anything like that. It's just
you just get thrown into the dumpster, right? I mean, I live in a dumpster. It's fine. You know?
So should we call a Concrete Genie release of the Tomb Raider?
That would be great, and I want that as the sequel. Last thing there, I'm still early in the game, so I may be making too harsh of a judgment, but there's some stuff about bullying, messages about bullying that I'm not sure about. Like one of the characters is a bully, and you have this scene where it shows that the bully is from a broken home and trying to use that as a reasoning for why they become a bully, that definitely happens. But I do worry that the game is going to fall upon tropes where it's going to miss the fact that some people just assholes. And some people don't come from broken homes. They come from incredibly rich and stable homes.
I do think the message that the game is trying to get across is about how bullying begets bullies.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to stop that cycle. And I think that's probably where that comes from.
Yeah, trying to contextualize rather than like brush under the rug, which can be like you're saying a trope that happens.
I think that the talking about cyclical violence is really important, especially when we're talking about bullying. So definitely especially for children. Not that I don't like that it's there, just that I worry that it's going to be the same story for every single bully. And like, that's just not how bullying works. Like some people really are just dicks or like get that dickishness from their parents or something. Obviously that's cyclical in a way too. Right. But just something I noticed.
I can't say anything because it'd be a spoiler. So
yeah, that's fine. So I can see you holding yourself back, but that's all I've been playing. James.
Sure. Well, I've been playing not much because I'm still trying to finish my replay of The Last of Us Part 2. Which I'm very close to. I'm about an hour away from the ending.
Are you sure, James? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
I've been keeping up with your travel log, with the photos you've been posting. Thank you. Photo.
It's the main thing that I wanted to say is that playing it the second time, in addition to like those feelings that I had the first time being dampened because I know what's going to happen, and a lot of that I think comes from the suspense of not knowing where the story's going. So like there's a sort of those feelings, those emotions that I felt the first time, I'm not feeling them as strongly. But I was surprised, the main thing I wanted to bring up is that I was surprised that I grew more attached to certain characters that I wasn't that attached to the first time around, and I think that made other parts of the game more emotional for me than they were the first time around, which is just really interesting.
Which I mean, I don't know how much of it would be a spoiler, but like which characters in particular were the ones that stood out more so this time?
I'll try and keep this as vague as possible, but it was the second main character of the game.
Okay. Were you less, I guess, accommodating to their story first time round?
I think the first time I felt more disconnected to it
Okay.
because of the conditions of the story
Okay.
and my attachment to other characters.
I do.
But I just thought that was like an interesting thing where just spending more time with these characters has given these other moments more elevation.
Yeah, and those performances are
Yeah.
incredible in encapsulating that. I will
Absolutely.
say they're top notch, best I've ever seen, really.
Yeah. So I think the game is still probably still my favorite game I've ever played. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm interested. It'll be interesting to see how I feel about the ending the second time around as well, because that was a big emotional hitter for me the first time around. So
Yeah, it's something I really appreciate, like you just brought up, like going through something for a second time and knowing that it's not going to be the same in terms of anticipation and reveals and all that, but you get to see like signposting in an interesting way, as well as better context, breadcrumbs, I guess,
yeah,
that not things as you progress, like, okay, I see what they're going for here because I know the end result. That's why I'm never always fully disappointed if I get spoilers on something, because I I I know the end point, and so I like to see. I granted with like Last of Us Part 2 in particular, when that had the whole spoiler thing, I did everything I could to stay away from that, just because I didn't want that. Um, I wasn't going to sully my experience. I just wanted to kind of still keep it fresh. But anyway, like you get to see it from not new eyes necessarily, but you get to appreciate it from a different part of the perspective, and like it's you just get to appreciate, I think, the format of the story, as opposed to like just seeing, like, constantly waiting on the edge of your seat for the next reveal. You get to see
yeah.
the full swath of the story present itself.
So on the second playthrough is like a totally different experience in the way that
Right.
the first time you're kind of following along with these characters and you're
Mhm.
in the same seat as these characters through the story. The second time you're more appreciative of the thought that went into crafting the story. And
Mhm.
I think The Last of Us Part 2 does this, like, is just incredible in this way, because I think it is sad in one way that it's so dependent on these plot twists, and so you're missing out on that in the second and
Mm.
subsequent playthroughs, because there are so many twists and turns throughout the story that like leave so many emotions. But at the same time, there are so many different sort of interweaving narratives and different sort of subtleties and storytelling techniques, like just an incredible amount, that there is so much stuff to appreciate even when you know where the story's going.
I
Mhm.
think that's why for me, when I went around the second time, and I got I got almost to where you are, James, and so I think I got a little bit behind where you are. Um, I think. Anyway, but I focused a lot on the combat and like turned it up to hard and like really wanted to test myself. I didn't want to do Grounded. I don't think Grounded had come out yet, but
It
I
had
wouldn't
been
have wanted
released.
to do it anyway because total wuss. If I wanted to play a game on the hardest mode, I'd just go play Kingdom Hearts 2. Thank you. But anyway, but no, I mean, I really loved it. I loved it so much that I still like played about 75%, 85% of that game, and even uploaded like some stuff about like my favorite moments of like just like going really aggressive, which I just did
Mhm.
not do the first time, and just seeing where that took me, and that was a very different experience for me, and that's what kept the story fresh until I got to a certain part of the game, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to see this again. I don't really need to see this again. I'm good. Like I'm just gonna pretend that I'm just not gonna make it to the end of this level, and that'll be fine.
It
I
ends
think
right here.
you bring up an interesting point, because I know the bit that you're talking about, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I know what's gonna. And that part in the game, I'll just touch on this briefly because I don't want to get into spoilers. But that part in the game, the second time around, hit different for me as well, because I knew what was gonna happen after that. I was a lot more sort of encouraging of the idea that, okay, maybe we can just leave it here, Like
You had less
maybe this would be better. Whereas the first time I was like, okay, no, this doesn't feel like the right ending. This time around I was more like, okay, I'd be alright if we left it here.
Yeah,
But
first time around, it's very fatiguing.
yeah, but
I mean, I definitely had hopes and dreams, but and maybe it's because I haven't gone back and done that part again, but I also don't want to. But, yeah, I mean, I totally get wanting the game to end there. I won't say any more, but I'll say there. But I mean, it just wouldn't be Last of Us, you know. It's gotta open up our hearts and then just fucking crush them.
But you do bring up an interesting point, I think, particularly with like permadeath, because one thing that I really like, I would probably never get myself around to doing a permadeath playthrough just because I don't like the idea of going through the game, getting so far and then losing everything.
Same.
But
let me talk to you about Doom Ultra Nightmare.
There's a person I watched on a podcast. He got relatively far in the game and he died climbing down a rope. He lost like 8 hours of gameplay falling down a rope.
I've seen people like dying because of glitches and stuff as well, and it's just
that's the roughest
really
thing.
brutal. But like the thing is if that doesn't happen, I like the idea that you're going through the story and you feel the greater risk like Ellie does.
Yeah.
Like if you die, like I like the idea that that's the end of, like, it wouldn't be a very good story, but I like the idea that that's the end of the story there. Like, oh, Ellie's dead. Game over.
Can't believe some random dog in the street just ends Ellie's whole story.
How that build up and she fell down a rope.
Yeah.
What a dope.
Sometimes, man. Sometimes.
Which is funny because
on a rope.
My most deaths in any Naughty Dog game is always falling off something. It's always mistimed the X or button or something.
Uncharted.
Yeah. Always falling down.
But yeah, other than that, I've also been playing A Way Out. I played the first sort of chapter, let's say.
Out of curiosity, are you playing this in preparation for their upcoming game, It Takes Two?
Well, this is actually my second playthrough.
Oh, okay.
But it's on sale right now, and I've wanted to replay it for a while, and It Takes Two coming out at the end of this month did prompt me to search up this, whether it was on sale or not, and buy it.
2 weeks exactly. Yeah.
I'm very excited for that game. But yeah, A Way Out, I remember enjoying it the first time I played it with a friend. I was at a friend's house watching E3 with him, and we decided to fill the rest of the time playing A Way Out. And it was great. I remember enjoying it there. It was great for that purpose. It's a great couch co-op game. I think that's probably the best way to play these games. It's a shame we don't get games like this that are like dedicated to couch co-op. It's like a rare breed these days.
I agree.
Because I remember back in the day playing Resistance Fall of Man with my friend. Getting through the campaign in that game in co-op was just great. But back on topic, the voice acting in A Way Out is not that great. That's one of the main things that jumped out to me replaying it.
You're saying it's not Oscar worthy?
It's probably not Oscar worthy, but I don't think Joseph Fares cares too much.
He probably doesn't care.
But yeah, the other thing as well is I didn't realize how much fun it is, because I didn't do this the first time around when I played it first. But I didn't realize how much fun it is to get to those bits where both players have to like press a button to stop from falling down something. I didn't realize how much fun it is to just not press the button and watch your friend fall to their death.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I love doing that stuff when I'm playing like Gears of War with my fiance or family, and just like giving them a hard time just because it's so good.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to playing through the rest of that again, because it is a good game when you take everything into account.
Totally.
But yeah, that's everything that we've been playing. But Rob, as you mentioned earlier, you've also been playing the PS5 version of Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Well, so disclaimer, I've primarily been playing the PS4 version on my PS5, but the PS5 version just came out, and the save, this is no surprise, it was announced that the saves would not transfer forward to the versions. It would not be compatible, which is a bummer, because I fired it up on my PS5 the day the patch came out and tried that version. You have to download a separate version of it, so it occupies more space in your hard drive, which is very precious on the PS5, let's say. And it running just in 60 frames per second alone looks beautiful. Like the basic touch-ups that they've done, like granted it's been out on Xbox Series X and PC upon release back in November, I believe, November, but yeah, it's just coming to PS5. And I did a little bit of tinkering around with it on 4K. It is, so what it'll do, it has that performance mode basically where 4K 30 and then like 1440 roughly and then 60. There is almost no benefit to putting it on the 4K because the textures aren't that great to begin with. They're okay, but it's nothing to write home about. Whereas putting it in the 60 frames, like, it looks smooth, it looks crisp,
Yeah.
and it definitely is the way to play that game.
Yeah, there hasn't been a game yet that I've put in 30 frames anymore. Like I always prefer performance mode at this point. Like it makes a huge difference now.
Yeah, that's the thing, was when you have the ability to start doing that, almost always you're going to opt for the option to just see it run smoother because the animations just look so much better. Bloodborne, please, on PC, or give it a PS5 60 frames patch, please. Anyway,
they're bringing more games to PC. They're doing it.
I know, and I like this. The fact that they're like teasing it with, "Oh, Days Gone is coming to PC." I'm like, you fucking cowards! Give me Bloodborne on PC. Just announce it. We'll be fine.
That's Japan Studios' sole project from now on, is porting Bloodborne.
Yeah, rest in peace. But so I've been playing Yakuza 7 or Like a Dragon, and yeah, that game's real good. That game is so damn good. I've been playing that, like, not nightly, but damn near nightly with my fiance Jess, and it's so. I don't know how many of you have played like the history of Yakuza games, like 0 through 6, but this is my first real Yakuza game playing through. I've seen a little bit of like the Giant Bomb, Beast in the East playthrough. They played Yakuza 0, or Dan did, and Alex was kind of guiding them through. So I have a little bit of context and experience for how off the walls this game can get, and boy does it. And I love it so much for how silly it is, but like in almost the same breath, you get so much heart and compassion and beautifully written story. Like the whole intro to the game is this beautiful setup of Kasuga Ichiban and his, like, just another day in the life of being, kind of a low-level lieutenant, Yakuza, just doing rounds on foot New Year's Eve. And then you start to see like the drama unfold of like his attachment to this family, and then how it starts to blossom, and betrayal, and all the twists and turns that is like to happen. But like in the same breath, you get some of the goofiest stuff, like going to basically I forget the way they describe it, but it's basically like, I don't want to say it's a fetish house, but it's essentially a bunch of grown men in diapers being pampered by a woman in like an apron, so that she was their mother, and like giving them warm bottles and stuff.
We've all seen the screenshots. We know what it's about.
Yeah. So like, no surprise there, definitely, especially in the Yakuza game. But it's so interesting how they turn and weave that story of like how goofy on its face, like Kasuga is going and interacting with these guys in diapers, and then it turns it on its head and like gives it a lot of heart in some ways of just, and it there's so much charm. The translation they did to English is incredible. It doesn't miss ever. I'm in chapter 12 now, and yeah, the only reason why I haven't finished it is because I'm doing it at such a steady pace with my fiance, so we can both watch together, and she just loves watching it. And please check out that game. It deserves all the love.
You're really selling me on it. Are you?
Rob,
good.
here's the thing, Rob. All right, turn-based RPGs. Sell me
So-
on this, buddy.
That's what I was about to ask. Sorry, if I could
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
Are you generally a fan of turn-based RPGs?
So yes, I love turn-based RPGs. I grew up on stuff like Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior, now like known as Dragon Quest 2, or as well. I love turn-based RPGs, but they're not always like not. I don't love every one of them. It's not a hard sales pitch for me to get into them. I will say that if you've been a fan of the brawler style of Yakuza games, it definitely does not feel as engrossing and moment to moment engaging, but I will say it does a great job at translating what Yakuza is known for in its brawler combat in excellent ways. And it's still like you can kind of put it on autopilot with auto fighting, and with a lot of turn-based RPGs, at least more modern ones are allowing, you can set like personality types or archetypes to like, okay, this one's going to primarily focus on healing, etc., or just like fine tune your kind of your rotation. Or you can just do like pure melee attacks is fine to conserve like your casting, your magic and stuff. But like you can stop at anywhere on your hub or the city and like go eat ramen and you're full up on all your resources, unlike Persona,
How that
which
works in real life too.
exactly, like all I need is some ramen, I can cast my pyro breath again or summon pigeons. That's life. But like even in the turn-based combat, it's so charming and funny. The names of the enemies are great punchlines a lot of the time. Just the great puns written in, great attacks. The animations are fantastic. There's a mechanic in the game where you like summons that are traditional in the like Final Fantasy expectation, and you can summon people that you've come across, and it's an app on your phone called Pound Mates, and one of them is like, I don't want to say too much, but let's just say there's a chicken. There's also a lobster. It's great. It's so good.
Oh, I gotta play this.
Yeah, I highly recommend if you get the chance, check it out. It's not necessarily going to be the turn-based combat game that turns everyone around, but I think just seeing the writing alone, I mean, it was Liana Rupert's Game of the Year last year for good reason from Game Informer. Just like it has so much charm and heart, and Kasuga Ichiban is like one of the best protagonists I've seen in a JRPG in so long.
Nominated as one of the best characters of 2019 or 2020, whatever, for MinMax.
Yeah, I love him so much.
Yeah. So
He is
does this
such a good person.
Yeah, does this game have a lot? I'm sure it has a lot of cutscenes and a lot of dialogue, right?
Yes. And that might be a deterrent for some people because from the get-go, there is a lot of.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
Rob, let me introduce you to a series called Kingdom Hearts. I'll be here all week.
It's probably
even more than that. Even more than
I
that.
know, probably, yeah. Right.
It is.
It can
Metal
be
Gear Solid.
I love Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
It's on par with Metal Gear Solid, if not.
Jesus.
It's a little. It's not Metal Gear Solid 4.
I was thinking 4. I was thinking 4.
Yeah, 4.
It's not that like cinematic, let's say.
And I still enjoy Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, I do too. I love it. But like as far as like you get to play plenty of the game. It has like, beats where, and it also is really good about, I will say this, it is really good about, because it is based on a chapter system, it is really good about letting you know this is a point of no return for this chapter. Like, are you ready? Yes? Okay, let's go. And I'm so grateful for that, because so many RPGs and games in general just like, wait, I ended up in the last bit of the game without knowing.
Yeah.
How is the grind? Has there any? Because I did hear there's a lot of late game grinding, but have you felt that anywhere else?
So that's the thing, is I just got to chapter 12. There is a main quest requirement that requires you to get to a particular currency value. It wasn't too bad for me by doing some side stuff, but I can certainly see how it could. But I know that there is still potentially more of that coming. So we'll see. I haven't felt too much of the game, but I understand that it, like, I'm like right at the doorstep or gates of where that might become a thing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I could always just as easily like put it on, do some grinding, maybe do some auto battling, and then go make dinner and check in on it, like where my health is at, and then or put on a podcast or do something else or have a conversation with someone else while it's happening. So I am okay with mitigating it somehow, but not everyone's going to do it the same way. So that is worth bringing up for sure. That it is still a JRPG and has those factors.
Yeah,
Right.
these games are slow, so be prepared for that. There is a lot of talk. There's a lot of you have to be ready. It's a very movie-like series, which I love personally, but I know a lot of people don't like because it's just like way too slow for them. But if you do love it, you'll really love it. The series is I don't even know if it's like niche anymore because it's on Game Pass now and everything, but it's fantastic.
Well,
And it sounds like
They used to be for sure.
yeah.
I played Judgment, and that didn't seem so bad on the cutscenes. Is that? I take it's more than that.
But from what I understand of like that team in particular, it's probably on par. Did you complete all of Judgment?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. Probably. I don't know how front loaded it is, but so I also played this game briefly because I just got my PS5 around the time I did my Extra Life stream last year, and that was what I played for a little bit of it at like 4 a.m. So it was 5 hours left on my stream, and started up, and I was also playing it subbed, so it was in Japanese. And it was not the fault of the game, but there were a lot of cutscenes, and it was all in Japanese, so it was a lot of staring at the bottom of my screen reading when I was super tired.
I watch anime, so that's not a problem for me. Like
right. It normally isn't for me, but I was also like the circumstances were a little bit extreme.
no, I
but
understand. Yeah.
but it is definitely heavier up front.
Yeah.
It's front loaded with a lot of groundwork, but it is so worth it.
If you like Judgment, I think you'll like this too. For sure.
I mean, to be fair, they're introducing an entire new character, cast of crew, and stuff. So I don't mind it being front loaded.
Yeah. I want to play the series in chronological order. So I'm on 3 right now. So I'm gonna hold this game out for a while until it's on sale, and then I'll have all those other games beat by then. Yeah.
And that is something we were talking about a little bit in your Discord channel, which is a great place. But we were talking about it briefly in that, like, there were a couple people, like you had mentioned that you're going through the series as according to the chronology, and then this is my first Yakuza game, and that this is a great jumping on point for a lot of people who haven't played the whole series, or like 7 games. I mean, this is Yakuza 7, but there's Yakuza 0, so this is the 8th game anyway. And those games are known for being like 40 to 60 hours long, depending. That's a lot of groundwork that you might not want to put in for this game. So you don't need to do that. This is a great new protagonist, completely new play style for the combat, but there are nods to previous games, and it does a pretty good job so from my core understanding of a couple things, explaining that to you. But I will say that having played this, I want to go back and play through all those games now, and give them that full playthrough effort, because it's so good.
So I definitely want to go through 0, Kiwami 1 and 2 at some point.
Right. So what you're saying is that we should all jump on 7 as quickly as possible before they make 7 more of them, and it's once again impossible to get into this series.
Probably, yeah. If you can, please check out this game, and if you have a PS5, never been a better time to play in 60 frames in 4K. Because
another thing I like about the series is that it's you can play it like episodically, because I love the chapter system. Like I can play it, like I can put it down for like a month and then go back into it, and I think they always do like previously on or something like that. Which also,
I know they did that in Judgment, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
to some extent, yeah, they do. And each, like, the loading screens, which are almost non-existent on the PS5, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately and unfortunately for this fact, is that they have a good summary of like the last chapter, that you can read while you're waiting. But yeah, it's a good time to check it out and just love Kasuga Ichiban. He's the best.
It's interesting though. I think the chapter system in Judgment was part of the reason that I actually finished that game, because I finished it over like multiple shorter periods across a year.
Right.
So I think that chapter system and the fact that I knew I was going to be reminded of the plot is a big reason why I went back to it so often.
It helps. The chapter setup definitely helps. Gives you good. They feel kind of like each chapter feels kind of like episodes of an anime, or like, hour-long episodes or something that you can then stretch out to do other stuff. But then like the meat of the story, really, like
Yeah,
beginning and yeah, it's
that's what I
great.
loved about Judgment though. Like it was very much laid out like a detective thriller kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like it was previously on, and it's all this tense
and
music and these guys smoking and stuff.
totally. Yeah, this has that atmosphere too. And there, but it like I said, it still is never afraid to be goofy, like super silly, absurdist goofy.
Yeah.
Like literally the manifestation of combat in that game and how your enemies are, the perception you see of them and how they shift in combat is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a gripping narrative with twists and turns, and there's a mystery going on that is fun to see unfold.
Absolutely. Right. Well, we are going to move on now to the news, but before that, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
This episode is sponsored by Denuvo Anti-Cheat. We swear, it's not that bad. It doesn't like make your game slower. It can't. It literally can't just. It doesn't make games run worse. It's just your computer. It's just your computer. You can't do anything about it. Why are you complaining? What are you gonna do, huh? Are you just not gonna play our game? You're not gonna play Borderlands 3? You're not gonna play. You're not gonna play Devil May Cry, or what? Buy Denuvo.
All right, we're back, and as you can see by Seb's attire, we're going to talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge video game, published by the same company that published Streets of Rage 4 and developed by Tribute Games, made up of former Ubisoft developers who are behind the Scott Pilgrim game that everyone seems to love so much.
Yep.
Seb, you wanted to talk about this one in particular. Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes. This is a co-op 4-player game. I love Turtles in Time back on the Super Nintendo. So this is like right up my alley. I love Scott Pilgrim, and I love the I love the Streets of Rage series. So this game is like tailor made for me for sure. I've seen some the animation of like Michelangelo running is like really funny, and it's really detailed. It's just like the only thing for me is I hope that it updates like the genre a little bit. I hope it doesn't like rely purely on nostalgia. I hope it has like a little more like RPG elements or stats or something like that. You can do like, I hope it's just not like a basic turn-based game. Are you guys excited for this game, or
No.
like any of you? No.
I mean, I grew up with
Well, gee.
I grew up with the Turtles in the 90s, and so I was a big fan of the TV show and all that stuff. And so yeah, I mean, I'm like interested, but beat 'em ups are not really my thing. I'll play them if I'm at an arcade, but going out of my way to get a console version or something just doesn't seem so alien and foreign to me. So I mean, it's kind of like a game where I'm like, it's cool that this exists, and I'm glad it does. But yeah,
I'm stoked. So
there we go.
I'm with you, Seb. It's actually kind of funny that they announced this, because literally the day before we announced or we released our episode of Draft Punks this week, they announced they announced the game, and we did an episode on arcade cabinets, and we talk about TMNT Turtles on Time, and that was a big hit for a lot of us as kids. And I love beat 'em ups and brawlers. Throughout the years, you've had some good ones, you've had some absolute trash ones, but yeah, like kind of like you mentioned, Seb, that's a dated format in a lot of ways, primarily because those games were designed to steal your quarters. And that didn't translate as well to the home game because
That's
it
true.
was difficult as hell. I mean, as someone that grew up playing like Double Dragon
Yeah.
and all, yeah, those things were tough. But yeah, so it's the same team that made Scott Pilgrim, which was, I think, the best brawler, because it had an
that
arcade,
game.
like an RPG. Yeah, it's so good. Anamanaguchi killer soundtrack. The gameplay is so much fun, and part of that was because you got it had an RPG system too, where you got new moves, you could upgrade stuff, and I really once I saw this, I was like, please let me unlock moves for Donatello. Let me give like different staff attacks and all that. It looks gorgeous. Like they had a killer like trailer for it with Mike Patton just killing it on vocals, and that song slaps. I'm looking forward to it, and the Game Informer is doing coverage this, or at least helped announce it, and I'm looking forward to the coverage of that game. I'm stoked.
With that said, I still really want a 3D game from Rocksteady, a Ninja Turtles game from Rocksteady, like in the Batman Arkham like style. I would.
That'd be perfect. Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yes. Yep.
That'd be a great intro where it shows like Rocksteady's logo and then just Bebop drops down.
Yes, Bebop and Rocksteady. I was thinking that. Yeah,
that'd be so good.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Yeah, but that game deserves that kind of love from Rocksteady for a team. That'd be good.
I hope they do a remix of Go Ninja Go, like in 16-bit or something. Where that'd be hilarious.
Vanilla Ice does not deserve that much validity.
Look, it's just a coincidence that it sounds like the Queen song. Okay, it's just a coincidence.
Check the tape.
Check the tape.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking. Well, we'll see,
That's
but
great.
it's on my radar.
I'm glad that this is a game that's happening, but I'm not as partially not into it as James is, because definitely I got that in nostalgia, and also like I just love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I'm probably not gonna play it, but I'm glad it's there for y'all.
Did we get a release date? I think it's at the end of the year, or is it next year?
Coming this year was all they really said. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not big into brawlers, beat 'em ups, but I'm happy for everyone who's excited for this game.
Oh, totally.
Now, Dory.
Yeah.
Who was trashing the Uncharted movie a couple of weeks ago?
Well, it was actually us. I mean, if you look back at the tapes,
that's true. That's true. I forgot about that. Oh.
That is true, isn't it? No, but it was Tom Holland's kind of trashing his own performance.
That's right.
He said in a GQ interview that at times it was less about a land a mark and go through the scene and more about land a mark, stand like this, and see my bulging biceps. It was a mistake, and it's something that I will probably never do again.
I love how he takes this opportunity to brag about his bulging biceps. Very humble.
I mean, I think it's more like making fun of that than really saying.
No, I know.
Okay.
Don't worry, I know. But yeah, this movie didn't have a lot going for it to begin with.
Nope.
To be honest, I mean the inclusion of Mark Wahlberg, the fact that
Bruce Campbell really exists, and they casted Mark Wahlberg as Sully. Like you had Bruce Campbell right there, and you just watch. That's literally Uncharted, like whatever.
Yeah. That would have been a perfect casting, but
Nathan Fillion. Why is Nathan Fillion only in some fan-produced film on YouTube for Uncharted, which is a great film, by the way?
He'd be too old for the story that they're trying to tell.
But we went over this. I said the last time we talked about this, they should have cast Nathan Fillion, made the whole cast older, and made it like an older Nathan Drake, and just killed off Sully, because then you wouldn't have to worry about casting Sully.
How dare you? Sully deserves better.
He plays off a PlayStation host of a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you can always just de-age people, right? We've got the technology at this point.
Yeah, but like that's
Uncanny Valley. You can tell.
Well, it's not even just that; it's the budget to get that done. To like, you're already like paying for, like, if you consider the cast and all the production values this game or this game movie might have. Doing that on top of it is a whole other ask in addition to
Uncharted, the movie, the game, the movie, the game, the movie, the game.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, potentially there is something to be said for someone like an artist being their own worst critic or something like that, but it is worth mentioning the fact that it felt almost not mindless, but passable as the impression that I got was that it was just passable.
And the thing is, he sort of frames it in a way that he's criticizing his own performance, but this is all obviously stuff that was in the script that the director wanted him to do. And
Right. So does that come down to bad direction
Yeah.
at that point?
Probably.
I
mean,
mean,
he's in so many movies right now, and he's like his career is like blowing up right now.
Mhm.
He has a luxury to say this because this is
What
just
are they
another.
gonna do? Fire him?
Yeah, like
also though,
just
on
the paycheck. So.
on the flip side, I have to wonder, like, isn't this every action movie? I mean, they do this in the Marvel movies as well. You see Captain America standing there with his bulging biceps, holding a helicopter down.
Okay,
You
well,
know?
well, stop. Wait a second, James. There are some scenes that just need to be kept in movies. Okay, I'm
Let's
sorry,
not
but like,
forget when Captain America
it's-
tears open a log. Okay.
yeah. I mean, there are just certain scenes that we need to have in the National Library of Congress. Okay, for certain reasons. I'm not going to get into it, but those are some great scenes.
Okay.
Anyway,
Well,
We'll see. I mean, we'll see when we see it.
we will see. Let's move on to another Naughty Dog property then. So, Naughty Dog is supposedly hiring for a multiplayer game that is built for, and I quote, robust longevity.
I don't like the sound of that.
This is Factions. This is Factions 2. This is
I
Factions
can't
2.
believe they're bringing back Uncharted 4 multiplayer for the PS5. So exciting!
Jesus.
Everyone loves that.
Fire! I gotta go.
But yeah, I mean, this is this news? I mean, we know they're making Factions 2.
It's a breadcrumb confirmation that it's like stoking the flames a little bit. That, I mean, it's people grasping on any news out of that studio of like what's happening with Factions. I know Travis is like losing his mind right now of like, yes, give me Factions, because he's been last episode that he was on, like he was all about just give me Factions too, and I totally get it.
I hope it's that and not a service game, though. I really don't want a service game.
I don't think would Naughty Dog do that?
It doesn't fit them, but you never know.
Yeah.
It's going to be a standalone thing, and it's going to be Factions 2. Maybe they make it a service game.
Well, right, and that's the thing, is like you have to wonder. It's not likely that Sony in any way would put pressure on them to adhere to those types of conventions, really, because they don't need to. They can write a blank check. Yeah. But if they're trying, you have to wonder if how much of a value proposition that game's going to have, because if they're going to try to sell it, are they going to sell it for full price? Is it going to be a $60 game? Is it going to be a $30 game? Okay, if it's a $30 game,
it's going to be $70.
God, right? So yeah,
I'll buy it at 30. I will not buy it at 70.
Right, and so that's
we'll all buy it. We'll all buy it at 70. Who are we kidding? It's Naughty Dog game.
Wait, James. If they re-release Last of Us Part 2 PS5 edition for $70, would you buy it?
Day one, no question. They've got my money.
But
I can't believe you asked that question. I would even have second thoughts, but I'd probably eventually buy it. Yeah.
So that's kind of my point. Is at $30, that's an easier sell, but how much of a business decision is made where they have to think about investment of development versus profitability of a sole multiplayer game? And that's the question that is so insidious, that keeps influencing a lot of games these days, is like the microtransaction looming overhead is, okay, if we sell it for $70, we're not going to have very many people playing it. Like the number count or server count is not going to be as jam-packed, but did we make enough money back? Maybe if we sell it for $30, maybe we had a lot of people buy it, but we're not as in the black as we'd like to be. But it's hard to say. But Naughty Dog, like James was saying and Dora was saying, it doesn't strike me as something that Naughty Dog would really do.
It's out of character for sure.
So
plus the climate right now, service games are on a decline now. I think after the Avengers bomb, I think everybody's like having second thoughts.
I mean, if you can't make Avengers sell as a game with live service, you can't do shit.
Well, that's the thing, is that one was also primarily co-op focused, and this one, do you think with Factions 2, do you think there's going to be like a sole co-op version or facet to it, or is it just going to be PvP like Factions was in Last of Us prior?
Probably
I think that would be cool. I think there's going to be like a hub area And I think we discussed this before on another episode, but I think it probably will extend aspects of the first version of factions. They'll build up, so like they'll have like a hub where you can go and check on your people,
Your friends
and,
on Twitter killing other people.
yeah, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I think.
I could see it just being very similar, just like in 60 frames, and have a little better aspects of it. But I don't think they're gonna radically change it.
You know what I can see in Factions 2? Me getting killed a fuck ton. That's what I can see.
Oh, right. And so that's a key qualifier that James pointed out was robust longevity.
Yeah.
Just PvP does not have robust longevity. I don't want to just keep getting shot in the head by a bow and arrow ad nauseum. Like, that can be fun for a lot of people. There are definitely competitive modes to games sometimes that feel tacked on. Sometimes they're really good. But like,
that's true.
Robust longevity to me sounds like some sort of co-op.
See,
well, people still play factions to this day, so
for sure.
That's the thing. To me, robust longevity. Sorry,
they didn't have to pay extra for it.
That's true.
It's part of Last of Us.
It should be free.
The thing is, right? To me, robust longevity speaks mostly to progression. So, like, it's going to be factions, but they'll have progression systems in place that make you want to keep playing and like keep building up your faction and and that kind
potentially
of thing.
That's true.
Here are the potential troll options I can imagine, and I've been right about a few troll things happening lately, like Skyward Sword becoming HD and nothing.
I don't think that was a troll. I think that was a clear linear progression of what was going to happen.
I don't know. Skyward's very divisive, but they could have picked a lot of other things.
They already did Wind Waker. They already did Twilight Princess. What was the next one they were gonna do?
I guess, but like I thought they were gonna bring those two to the Switch. Anyway, that's separate. My troll, I've got at least one troll idea is that the game. Two troll ideas. That's right. One is from James. One I just thought of. The one from James is that you have to buy the game over again on PS5. To get Factions 2, but it's all up-res and stuff. And then the other option is none of that, but you can only play a certain character from The Last of Us 2, who I will not name, with a certain item, which I will also not name, as your main melee weapon.
Oh man, if they made that like a custom mode, I'd play the hell out of that.
I'd play the heck out of that.
I'm here for that.
Absolutely. Anyway, those are my troll ideas.
The Last of Us Part 2 sports game coming soon.
That's right. Super Mario fucking golf.
Don't say it.
You don't say it.
I said what I said.
But no, listen, speaking of PlayStation properties, speaking of Naughty Dog, hey Rob, I wanted to ask you a question. What is your favorite PlayStation property?
Bloodborne, without a doubt.
If Bloodborne was to be made into a theme park ride, what would it be?
I mean,
that sounds awesome.
What could they get away with doing? I mean, what I want it to be. Oh man, that would be like the best horror theme park I can think of. Oh man.
But what would the ride be?
Just
like a haunted house, or
so obviously you'd have a haunted house, but at the very end you get punched in the face and it says you died as you get off.
I would love it too if like the ride is like it basically shouts through the microphone as soon as you die, get good.
No, it would just be like the cleric beast and the music blasting from the phone, just the screech that it does, just constantly going in the background. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because Nintendo are bringing their properties, namely Mario, I think, to a sort of Disneyland-esque theme park.
Universal Studios,
right? And
Japan.
Sort of Seb and I thought it would be interesting to ponder what a PlayStation version of this would look like.
Yeah, because I was born and raised in Florida, so theme parks are a big part of my childhood. I go every year.
I was
Yeah,
born in California, and we had
yeah,
all manner of them. Yep.
yeah, you get it. So in my head, this is gonna be like Universal Studios because we are getting Nintendo Land in Orlando in 2025 apparently or something like that. So if we were doing a Sony Land, like when I was thinking like we should come up with like the rides, a show, and like restaurant. What franchise would you make into a restaurant?
Well, before we get, I want to. I just
All
thought
right.
because I just thought of something.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know those rides they have at theme parks where it's like the carousel that spins
Yep.
around and you've got ponies on it.
Yep.
So you
Merry
and
go
you have one of those and you call it the Sony Pony, right?
I was thinking a great ride would be The Last of Us Part 2 or Part 1, just The Last of Us in general. It's just trauma. It's traumatizing. You just go through it and you just cry by the end.
Yeah, yeah.
You just walk through and get punched in the face every turn.
No, you leave with emotional scars that
That's
never
right.
heal.
It's all up here.
Yeah, no, so that's what it is. It starts with getting punched in the face constantly, and at the very end, before you get off the ride, they know they have the budget to do this. Obviously, they get every participant on the ride. They get their most hated high school teacher, and they come in and they say how much you failed, and and then they just walk you out.
Love it if they did a survey beforehand about all your greatest fears and then somehow they like just combine them together by the end of the ride. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, no, but like for reals, as far as like attractions are concerned, you could totally lean into some fun like platforming stuff with like a Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool stuff with
different weapons.
To me, Ratchet and Clank would. Like, I don't know if you. I mean, you guys might not know, but like the Men in Black ride in Universal is where you have guns and you shoot aliens. So I'd imagine you get a score for how many aliens you shoot. I think it would be like that.
Yeah. So I was gonna say there's also something similar at Disneyland with the Buzz Lightyear
Yep.
ride.
Yep.
It is similar. You do some like a shooting gallery thing as well. But
Yep.
you could totally find a fun way to. You could do like some sort of laser tag.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
A Ratchet and Clank laser tag would be cool.
I
also
could
love
definitely see like Little Big Planet stuff or like Sackboy's Big Adventure like being some kid friendly like
Totally.
3D platforming that kids can do on their own.
That'd
Or
be
a
like
Like a center. Yeah.
there used to be this place that I used to go to as a kid. They hosted birthday parties and stuff, and it was basically just this big foam pit that you could jump into. It was filled with foam. You could have something like that. Feels very Little Big Planet, something like that.
Yeah, like
Trampolines and
gym
stuff.
museum. Yeah, absolutely.
If you remember PlayStation Home, rest in peace, gone too soon. They used to have like events for promoting upcoming games, and I remember they had one for Resistance 3, and it was like an area from the game recreated, and that gives me like an idea. Maybe they could have the cafe from Persona 5 as a real cafe.
Oh yeah, that
And
makes
they
sense.
have curry and oh, that's brilliant, dude.
Yeah.
I would totally eat there.
I was thinking, and I hate to even give this thought to James, but I got two very James specific ideas. One is that you're in Resistance and like you like have a fake gun or something like that, and you get to like shoot or whatever whenever you see one of the Resistance monsters. And the other one, I don't even know how it'd work, but it's just somehow, the best of PS4/5 photo modes. I don't know, maybe some sort of Spider-Man.
They just give
thing
you a
where you're trying to-
camera and you go
yeah,
run
where you're trying to
around.
like take a good picture of Spider-Man for J. Jonah Jameson.
They could do something. I mean, who knows if they'd ever really think to do it, but you could totally do some sort of like secret club, photo club around the park and just have it call it like the Sony or PlayStation photo mode. And then like, yeah, you just take photos of the different things. Like they
They're
give
like hidden
you
around the park and stuff.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
like you could make it a game where like you have certain things you have to take pictures of, but you could also like buy a like disposable camera, and then as part of like I don't know the logistics of any of this or the budget, but like have people take photos and submit them and have like a wall of fame for the photos that people have taken and
Just
shout
want to be
outs.
clear, money is no object here. We're just wildly spitballing,
Oh, for
speculating.
sure.
But I just want to
That'd
say
be
this is
super
exactly
cool.
like in Kingdom Hearts 3, where there are the hidden emblems, the lucky emblems that are just Mickey Mouse's head.
Which Disney World has too, I think, in real life.
Yeah,
They have
that's where it
hidden
took it from. So yeah,
And if
Yeah.
money is no option, no object here, they just for the photo thing, they just give everyone £1,000 Canon camera, and they just let you take it home with you.
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
Admission is like $3,000 for one day.
like for like God of War, like it totally should be a dark ride, boat ride, like Pirates of the Caribbean with animatronic Kratos and Atreus. It writes itself. Like
That would
literally,
Dope.
that would be
And just-
so dope. Yeah.
Yes, having them like tell the story of God of War 2018 some
You
way.
just got
and
like
just
a guy dressed up as Kratos sitting in the boat with you, just telling stories.
No, you know, you have Mimir in the boat with you, like the talking head, the animatronic talking head.
Brilliant.
Oh my god,
That'd be
it's so-
great.
And
Yeah,
you
I think it'd be
have a drop.
better.
You have a drop at the end.
I think it'd be better if they actually dressed a guy up as Mimir and then chopped his head off and brought him back to life with the dark magic.
Oh, totally. You could do that too.
yeah.
Sword up, right on the table.
There'd be cool ways to do that. Oh man, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
We're crushing it, y'all. Sony's going to be calling us any second.
But like, if you guys had to do a roller coaster, what franchise would be a roller coaster?
And
You
The
have to have
Last
a
of
roll-
Us is a bit of a roller coaster, if you ask me.
Emotional roller coaster.
Emotional roller coaster. Yes, it writes itself.
Looping around a farm. I mean, Bloodborne could make a pretty cool roller coaster.
Yeah.
Look, y'all, I'm just saying the Last of Us beach resort, and I'm not going to explain it, and I'm not going to say any more. Beach resort.
They've already got a roller coaster. It's Until Dawn: Rush of Blood, the VR game.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh wow, that's true.
Just
Yeah, but it's
one
putting
for
in the
one.
shadow.
Until Dawn,
No.
somehow a choice-based Until Dawn haunted house. Come on, y'all.
But if you did Bloodborne, you could like have like a walk-in. You know when you wait in line and they make you walk to like a castle or whatever. You could
Yeah.
you could totally do a Bloodborne themed like castle. Oh, that'd be
Totally. I
so
mean,
that'd
you,
badass.
could you could just make Canehurst.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
literally a castle, and yeah,
Oh my
it's that's Castlevania level.
They could have a really immersive like Ghost of Tsushima thing, like where I don't know, you actually
Yeah.
literally bring people from Tsushima or something like that, and like I don't know, maybe
I
that'd
think maybe a
that'd be
show. I think you
problematic,
could you could do like a
Absolutely.
cool samurai show, like with live
Absolutely.
actors and stuff.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta have a show. You gotta have.
sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about Horizon? Is that just going to be like a bow and arrow when you shoot targets?
You get a stuffed animal. Yep.
Yeah.
We got a lot of
Uh,
shooting things though. At this
I mean, we
theme
got a
park.
lot of haunted houses and castles, and we got a beach resort there too.
You could do something. So you'd mentioned something like God of War being akin to Pirates of the Caribbean. You could potentially do Horizon Zero Dawn, like Small World, but like with you're encapsulated in this like
Yeah. I know.
AR holographic or hologram bubble thing that like projects like a digital representation of the history of this world and like the lineage of these robot dinosaurs or something. You could tell a cool story of the history of like the world that
Yeah.
way or something.
What other
Right.
franchises have we missed here?
I mean, there's so many.
We've gotten a lot of the main ones from PlayStation.
Crash,
Uncharted.
obviously.
Uncharted.
Yeah, you could do an
Oh,
Uncharted rock
Uncharted.
climbing wall.
That's
rock
good.
climbing. That's
That's-
easy.
that
Yeah,
is
it's a
good.
layup. Just get out of here. Layup.
Yeah.
I don't mean get out of here. I mean get out of here and pitch that to Sony. That's a layup.
Yeah, that seems like so easy
Yeah.
to do. And
Well-
it just says right into the top. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
No, 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 no.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no, no.
All right, get this then. They've got a fortune teller, and it's a crystal ball, but it's just Kojima in there, just 24/7
No, it's just the BB.
instead of a
Inside-
crystal ball.
It's-
Oh no, they should totally sell the babies in the jar.
yes,
They already
absolutely.
did. I've got one right there. It's the collector's edition.
Yeah.
They should make it a backpack that you could put
Yeah,
on.
the backpack the kids can walk around with and stuff.
Feel the
But yeah,
crushing, the crushing weight of responsibility for having children.
You could have totally like the BB inside the crystal ball thing, but have Mads Mikkelsen like interpreting what BB is trying to say.
Award-winning Mads
It'd be
Mikkelsen.
funny. It'd be funny if you could buy like all the packages and kids have to walk 20 boxes stacked on top of each other. You know,
And then the toilets
Stamina.
are Death Stranding themed as well because you can pee in that game.
And it's just monster cans like lined up everywhere and then like drawn to death.
That's that's the only beverage they sell is Monster.
Oh god, gonna give everyone heart attacks. Yeah, but yeah, it's totally sponsored by Monster.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We must be running out of franchises here.
Yeah,
Right.
I think we are.
I think
That sounds so great. I want to go there. I want to go to there.
this
I
would
know.
be
Come on,
fantastic.
Tony. I know. Come on.
We've done it. We've sold literally anyone watching this or participating in a Sony theme park.
Absolutely.
Hell
Yeah.
But while we all get ready to buy our tickets, let's talk about this week. Earlier in the week was International Women's Day. So we thought it would be good to talk about some of our favorite women in video games as characters and also some of our favorite women working in the industry. So,
Hell yeah.
Rob, do you want to take us away with either your favorite female character in video games or your favorite woman working in?
Yeah,
or somebody
and
you
so-
want to shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as let's start with video games to get the less important to me out of the way. Is one that always stood out to me was, and it's in a little bit in some ways topical. Aerith Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII. She was so Final Fantasy VII came out around the time I was. So it was what 1998, 97, 98. Yeah, so I was 8 years old when that came out and blew my mind. It was such a gripping, beautiful story, and I don't want to say too much, but there is such great, compelling. It definitely leans into some tropes that is problematic in a lot of JRPGs as like not as kind to their female characters and sexualizing some of them, and Aerith definitely wasn't one of the like the sexualized ones, but they still leaned into some other tropes. But I still think that she is an incredible character and was so well represented and designed in the remake
Absolutely.
last year. And oh my god, that game is
One of my
incredible.
favorite characters of the year in 2020.
Yeah. She's
And that's what's
terrific.
great. That's what's great is like if you compare it similarly to Jesse, who is, I love how Jesse went from in Final Fantasy VII originally to remake just like an absolute thirsty queen, and just like Jesse slayed and was awesome, but like they gave her so much depth and personality otherwise, and they really rounded out Aerith in the remake beyond just being like she wasn't throwaway, but I don't feel like they did her story justice all the time. But even still, like she had a gripping story, and always stood out to me as like is just super iconic. And as far as real life women in the industry, Alana Pierce, I cannot say enough positive things about her. From the moment I first saw her early on at IGN, instantly thought she was hilarious, charming as hell. Like, not that she ever needed to prove herself, but like you could tell, being a woman in the industry and being a woman in any industry, they have to go through so much more effort to stand out, which is utter bullshit. And the biggest thing that stood out to me was her love for Gears of War, because I am a huge Gears of War fan, and just seeing her cosplay of it and her always shouting out like, yo, Gears of War is really good. But she always had something interesting to say. She knew what she was talking about and provided great context and rebuttals to a lot of conversation, to the point now, I mean, she's been on Kind of Funny, she's featured on so many different things. Now she's a writer for a Sony
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. She's now a writer on, from what we understand, what, the next God of War, probably?
Could be. I think they're winding up a new project, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, but yeah, super proud to see her go there, and well earned. Cannot shout her out enough.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, 100% agreed with that. Dory, what about you? Who have you got?
Yeah.
Do you want to shout out?
So my my two like favorite women in video games, whether fictional or real, are very closely related to each other. I think one of my favorite women in media is Aqua from Kingdom Hearts. She is like an incredibly okay. So elephant in the room time. Nomura is not always great about writing women. He is still letting a lot of people down with the way he's writing Kairi. But
That's tied into Final Fantasy VII too.
yes, yep, I was thinking
She
that
just
too.
made the characters.
Synergy, yes.
Yep.
But he has gotten better, albeit it's been a slow, haphazard process. But I think Aqua is one of the best characters he's written in terms of women. She is strong. She loves her, she's supportive of her friends. She's gone through literally years of trauma. They literally show stuff about her having like PTSD in Cage 3. Her as a playable character, she is widely considered to be the most fun to play in Birth by Sleep. Her magic build is terrific. Her story is great. Her voice actress has only gotten better at the role. It's one of my favorite franchises, so it's not really a surprise that she's one of my favorite characters. Again, Nomura has been very hit or miss about women in his games, and so it's really good that we at least have Aqua. I will say for real people, of course Aqua is real to me in my heart, of course. But anyway, actual person, Yoko Shimomura. And look, it's not just because she does all the music for Kingdom Hearts, and she's literally like an independent producer or something like this. So she does not even narrowly work for Kate. Like literally, she has been involved in so many soundtracks. If you go back, especially in the 80s, and the 90s, she did a lot of JRPG soundtracks, and they're just bops. And she's so flippin' talented. I mean, all the songs that she's done. Yoko Shimomura is so good. She made a Skrillex song work in a Kingdom Hearts game. You figure that shit out for me. I don't know how she did it. The first time I heard that Skrillex was going to be in Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm like, are they pranking us? But like, it was really good. And like, I know like Yoko doesn't have like everything to do with all the music, right? Some of it is, of course, Utada Hikaru. But still, like, she's a lot of the reason why Kingdom Hearts is such a beloved franchise, and she's so incredibly talented and unsung in the industry. Honestly, like she is kind of underrated.
Yeah, some things to shout out. Credited for something like Super Mario RPG, great soundtrack. Parasite Eve, great soundtrack. Xenoblade Chronicles, also great soundtrack.
Yeah, she has done so much more than Kingdom Hearts. So I don't want this to come off as me saying, oh, I only like her because she does Kingdom. No, she does done so much great.
Yeah,
so many good tracks.
Yeah, Seb, what were you?
I don't have a favorite like real life person because I don't really have a favorite male developer either.
Which doesn't have to be a favorite, I suppose. Just somebody you want to shout out.
Yeah, Dory took mine already because I was gonna pick her. Honestly,
I didn't think you were gonna pick it. All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Right, what about
all right.
Fictional people then?
For fictional, I got to start with Jill Valentine, of course. I mean, she doesn't put up with anyone's shit. She just tells Carlos, I'm gonna handle this all on my own. Just leave me alone. And she's total badass. Like even in like the mansion, she goes out her way to solve the mystery on her own. She goes all the way down in the lab. She confronts. I'm not gonna say who. We all know. She's just like, and then they do kind of make her a damsel in distress in 5, I guess, but she does at the end redeem herself and snap out of it.
Less said about 5, the better.
But she could have been a Jill sandwich. I mean, it was a risky situation in the mansion, so she could have been a Jill sandwich.
Yeah, but she shines in 3 more than anything. Like, she's great in Revelations as well. But
wait, sorry, Resident Evil, is that Resident Evil 3 the worst video game ever created?
The remake?
I gotta go.
James hates that game.
I know. I get it, but yeah, it's a great game. Jill rules.
Yeah. Jill's awesome.
Although shout out to Claire and Ada because it's kind of like a tie for me, but Jill, it's probably my favorite because she's the OG lady.
Straight from Resident Evil 1. Yeah, she was.
I will
she was
say,
badass.
as much as I don't like Resident Evil 3, the remake, Jill's character was one of the better parts of that game. 100%.
Great performance. Great
Yeah.
performance.
She was awesome.
As for my fictional character, I mean, it's got to be Ellie from The Last of Us, of course, from both of them. I know we said we shouldn't because it was going to be overlap, but hey, you know what? I'm going last, okay? Nobody else has picked Ellie, so I'm coming in here. I'm going to pick Ellie. She's just
Fair.
such a complex sort of character that doesn't put up with any shit. And it's sort of, I think it's nice that when The Last of Us came out, I think in video games in particular, that was her sort of character archetype was such a departure from what we're usually seeing from female characters in video games, where she's very capable, she can hold her own.
Right, and it at the same time kind of shed. Not that it's the first time it's ever shed light on it, but it also did a great job at encapsulating like gaslighting a little bit and toxic masculinity and being the overbearing father figure, like controlling the fate of a person, typically female, and seeing the repercussions of that in two. Like, I feel like they did a good job at handling like agency for her.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
As for my real person, I kind of want to cheat here because it's hard to pick just one person. But I do want to shout. I'll shout out first Rebecca Valentine, who does some incredible reporting at IGN now, and used to be at GamesIndustry.biz, just reporting on video games and the video game industry, and all that sort of the stuff that is sort of tricky to navigate around, that nobody really feels comfortable talking about a lot of the time, because it's those things that sort of, there's a lot of change that needs to happen for people who work in the games industry, for stuff like crunch and a whole bunch of other issues, and you know, reporters like Rebecca really do a great job of shining a light on that stuff.
Yeah, she's a hell of a writer.
Absolutely, she's great. And in addition to that, real quick, as a fan of Game Informer, I wanted to shout out Elise Favis and Leanna Rupert, who we mentioned earlier. The latter of which has had to put up with a lot of shit, particularly recently, which is such a shame. But they're both incredibly talented writers and content creators.
Mm-hmm. I'm very happy to see the expansion of more women and like minority figure writers in games coverage media, but also like seeing that at Game Informer, a platform I've loved for a long time, which was predominantly just cis men, and seeing just it expand in a lot of ways. And yeah, ever since Liana joined up, she's been great. Ever since, or whenever Elise wrote something, also now at Washington Post.
Yeah. Launcher. Yeah,
and Launcher. Yeah, just excellent stuff coming from her as well. And Kimberly Wallace, just a hell of a writer and always a delight.
Absolutely.
She's just lovely.
But with that, we should move on, I think, to our final segment for the week, which is 20 questions. We're going to play a couple of rounds of 20 questions. So Seb is going to think of a game, and we've got, you know how 20 questions works. We've got 20 questions, and we're going to try and figure out what the game is.
If you guess a game and you get it wrong, you have to be sure that you know what it is, and it's going to be a PlayStation game. It doesn't have to be exclusive, but it's going to be on a PlayStation platform.
Question for clarification.
Yep.
Do the questions have to, because there's like a strict, if you're playing,
it has to be yes or no.
So okay, it has to be yes or no. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well in that case, let's kick it off. So Seb, do you want to tell us? Do you want to tell us?
Fingers. Yeah.
Do you want to tell us, Seb, what your first game is to kick us off here?
No. You're gonna guess it.
Damn it! Worth a shot.
Nice try.
All right. Is it an action adventure game?
No.
Was it released before the year 2000?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Was it released on the PlayStation 1?
Yes.
That was a gamble.
Well, it's kind of redundant because if it's before 2000, it's obviously PS1.
Well, it might not have been a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it has to be. It's the rule. It has to be on a
Right,
PlayStation.
it could have been ported at some time later down the line, but it clarifies like it's a PS1 game, so that also narrows down the window a little bit.
See, he has to. He
PS1
narrowed it down. Yeah.
Is it related to an anime series?
No.
Okay.
Well, no.
And you said it was actually culture, right? Or was it not? Was that no?
No.
Okay.
Was it developed in Japan?
Yes.
Okay, developed in Japan on
I'd be shocked
PS1.
if it's not. It's not. I mean, it is in Japan. It is Japan.
I mean, I was gonna say at that era, odds are. Is this a racing game?
No.
Okay.
Was it published by Square?
No.
Huh. Okay.
Does it have an anthropomorphic mascot?
Yes.
Okay.
We're getting somewhere. Man, this is...
Is it a platformer?
No.
See, an anthropomorphic mascot, not a platformer, from Japan.
I think you just answered the question.
Is it an RPG?
No.
Hang on a second.
I'm trying to go through my memory of like games around that era that were
You're
like
halfway.
that.
Is the protagonist like too cool for school?
Yes.
Is it Gex?
You should consult your team before you.
Is it the team thing? I thought I was just going to eliminate myself.
This is a team thing, so you make sure you all consult. So
What do
you're at
you
11.
think?
You're at 11.
Let's not go with let's not go with Gex.
It's not
I
Gex.
thought he was just going to eliminate. I thought he was just going to eliminate me. That's the only reason I said it.
No, I already said it was not a platformer. So
Right, I know, but too cool for school.
Was Gex
yeah.
developed in Japan?
No, it's American.
What are you doing, Dory? Come on.
It's actually Crystal
I
Dynamics.
forgot about that part. I got too cool for school, and anyway.
So too cool for school, not a platformer, anthropomorphic mascot,
Not an RPG.
not an RPG,
Not a racing game.
Is it a puzzle game?
No.
What else could it? Well, what else could it be?
You'll probably feel stupid when I say it, but I'll just say that. That's your hint.
Okay,
so
hang on.
Yeah, something staring you straight in the face. But
I feel like
my memory is not serving me well tonight for this.
You got 8 more questions.
It's been such a long time since I've played on the PS1 games and thought about
this might be a waste of a question, so I apologize in advance. But was it published by Konami?
No.
Well,
Okay.
at least that rules that out.
Yeah, for sure.
13.
So it's an animal of some sort, potentially, if it's anthropomorphic. But yeah, I mean, obviously Spyro and Crash are coming to mind, but it's not them.
It's not them.
Yeah, it's not a platformer.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think those are developed in Japan?
No, they're not. I'm trying to narrow down
No, those aren't.
No, I know.
the train of thought of PlayStation 1 mascots.
We need a comeback story here. We really need to bring this back in.
Ah, shit.
Did it have multiplayer?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
No couch
That's a
co-op?
good question. It's not. No. If it does, it's not like the main thing. Like you wouldn't know it had it. Like yeah.
Sure.
If you don't mind my asking, well, no,
14.
I don't many that do, but is it a JRPG?
No.
Okay.
5 more.
Would
Okay,
that count
it's not-
under
it's not-
RPG though?
It's not a.
Oh yeah, you already asked if it was an RPG. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I didn't think about
It's
that.
not a puzzle. It's not a JRPG or an RPG. It's not a platformer. Is it a shooter?
No.
This game doesn't exist.
It does. You're gonna feel stupid when I say it.
I believe you. It's not coming to mind right now.
This game is
You guys,
nothing.
you guys had like all the
This,
momentum. and then
this
you
is this is the Seinfeld game. This is a game about nothing. It conforms to no genre.
I can't give you a hint because it was just too obvious.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just trying to think of a train of thought that would.
All
narrow
the all the games I can think of that don't conform to those genres weren't developed in Japan.
Mm,
Oh man, we're just gonna have to start throwing questions out here, I think.
okay. You got four. You got four more.
All right, who are some more prominent Japanese publishers? Let's see if we can get the ball rolling and see if we can find one of
I
these.
don't remember when Japan Studios came, but that's potentially one. I don't know if they were around since PlayStation 1.
Well, it wasn't Ape Escape because isn't that a platformer?
Yeah, that's definitely a platformer. Is this the music or rhythm game?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I know.
That's smart.
It's
Hold on,
the-
hold on. Clarify before we ask the final question.
Okay.
Is the mascot a dog?
Yes.
It's Parappa the Rapper. It's Parappa the Rapper.
It's Parappa the Rapper.
I do feel
An
stupid.
iconic Sony mascot. Yes.
Iconic.
How many questions did we have left?
You were at 17, so you had 3 left.
That's pretty good. That's
Good job,
pretty good.
guys.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
was. Yeah.
All right.
Ready for
I'm
another
feeling
one?
one more. I'm feeling
All right,
one more.
I'm feeling one more as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's start the ball rolling here. Whoa. Was this one developed in Japan?
Yes.
Okay. Is this before the year 2000?
No.
Okay. So PS2 on likely. Is this before the year 2010?
Yes.
Okay. So PS2, PS3?
Yeah.
I listened to a lot of was it Game Scoop, so I've listened to them
Yeah.
play a lot.
I could tell. I could tell.
What was it developed? No, sorry, not developed. Was it published by Square?
No.
Okay, ruled out Square. So that rules out Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts.
Mhm.
Was this released originally on the PlayStation 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it a
Yes.
move? Is it a movie tie-in?
No.
License? No. Okay.
You're at 6.
Is this trying to be careful with genres because you could you're just throwing darts at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, maybe you're a good darts player.
Yeah, but if
I mean, you would have to play Final Fantasy VII Remake to know that.
does this game feature Shadow the Hedgehog? I'm just kidding. So PlayStation 2. Is this a launch window title?
No.
Okay.
7.
See, this is tough for me because I don't know when PlayStation 2 titles released. So
Yeah,
2000.
for sure. For sure.
that doesn't. So I'll conform. I'll sort of confer with you guys before I make any.
No, you're good.
Do we want to ask the Konami question again?
Might as well. I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
sure.
There was a prominent one around that.
Was it published by Konami?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
8.
Did this game have multiplayer?
No. 9.
Single player game. Okay.
Single player
narrows down-
game for the PS2
From Japan.
from Japan, not published by Square or Konami.
Mhm.
Is it like a very dark storyline? Like how is the story kind of dark or?
No.
Okay.
Was it 10?
I was thinking Shadow or Eco or something.
It is dark-ish, but I wouldn't consider it a dark storyline.
That's nebulous. Yeah, it could go
Sure.
either way.
I'm at 10, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
You're counting. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's a 10.
I trust you. I trust you.
okay.
I think my
Stupid.
hint. You're probably gonna feel stupid when I say it. That's my hint again.
Parappa
guys
the
all-
Rapper 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Screw it. Was it made by Japan Studio?
No.
Okay. Worth a
11.
shot. I took a shot.
Okay. Do
Not a
you
movie
all
tie-in.
want to? Do y'all want to try a genre?
Yeah, we
little
probably
bit.
should try genre.
Yeah.
Prominent around this time. So RPGs were starting to become prominent around this time. But there was also like the rise of stealth action games. And this is a single player game, but it wasn't published by Konami, but Konami developed it. But I don't know if Konami published MGS. That's
What's
okay.
the game?
Metal Gear Solid 2 is what I was thinking of. But just as an option. But I don't remember if Konami published
Is
that.
it-
I know that
They must have done. They
Seb,
surely-
is it part of a franchise?
What?
Part of a franchise?
Yes.
question. Okay.
Good
Okay.
question.
Yep.
Gex 3.
That's something I would say, but no.
Is what okay.
Wait.
Well, you
Was
Okay.
it published by Sega?
No.
Damn it.
So I was gonna ask because he had made mention that these games were featured on PlayStation platforms, but not necessarily exclusive. Was this game exclusive to the PlayStation 2?
Originally, yes.
Originally.
Okay. Something potentially ported down the line.
But it was developed in Japan, so it can't be Spyro or Crash.
Right.
Part of a franchise, but I think it'd be reductive to ask if it's a sequel or not, because at that point it doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, that could be something later on if you
Uh-huh.
narrow in on the franchise. You could figure out if it was a sequel, potentially.
I'm gonna start doing darts if we can't think of a good question.
I mean, we could do like something akin to an RPG.
Is it a shooter?
No.
Okay.
The hesitation.
No. It's not a pure
okay.
shooter, no.
Not
So
pure
that
shooter, but
means. What about like
Japanese
15,
shooting-
15. 5 more questions.
he
Oh, okay.
hesitated, but Shadow of the Colossus has like shooting mechanics in it, doesn't it?
Not really. I mean, it has like archery a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's.
Hmm.
But also
But
there's-
surely that's enough to give him pause.
Well, right, but also at the same time, you already asked if it was Japan Studio, and didn't Japan Studio publish Shadow of the Colossus? Did they?
They helped with the remake. I don't know about the original though.
That was
Okay.
Team Ico, but did they
Well, I know
publish
Team
it?
Ico developed it. I didn't know if Japan Studios helped publish
I
it.
think. I'm not sure. I think
But
they did.
it's okay.
But I'm not sure.
That what my memory is.
But
saying
it's part
is
of a
that-
franchise anyway.
Right.
I mean,
Shadow of the
Ah.
unless you consider Eco.
The remake is well, yeah. I wouldn't say that's a
I-
franchise. though.
probably
That's
not.
just
Actually,
yeah.
that probably
spiritual
eliminates that one.
successors.
Yeah. Okay.
It kills me that it's not a Metal Gear Solid game because that would be so easy.
Too on the
I know.
nose. That's why. Too easy.
Is it though?
Yeah. I don't know.
I do
What games have Platinum made?
To be honest with you,
in
this
that
one's
era.
kind of easy too. You guys are just
Wait,
Missing-
did
missing the
Platinum
mark.
exist in the PS2 era? Or the
Is that
I
a
don't
question though?
remember.
Is it
no,
platinum?
no, that's not quite. I'm asking Rob. I'm asking Rob and
I honestly I can't recall how early it was that Platinum was. I like my earliest Touchstone memory specifically of Platinum is Bayonetta, but I know that they've made games before that. I just can't recall.
Wait.
them.
The shooter thing he hesitated on. Devil May Cry has guns.
That's true, but okay. So
Is-
okay.
oh,
this part-
wait. I got a question.
Okay.
I got a question. Is there a lot of blood in this game?
Does this game have blood?
Uh-oh.
I don't know how to answer that one.
Don't count it. Don't count it.
Yeah, I won't count that one.
Can we? Should we ask about Capcom instead then?
Okay. Yeah.
Was it published by Capcom?
Yes.
Yes. Making
Okay.
progress.
Okay. Real quick. Was the first game in this franchise originally supposed to be a Resident Evil game?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
It's Devil May Cry. It's a Devil
Yeah,
May
but-
Cry game. It's a Devil May Cry game.
Okay, but so it's on PS2.
Right.
So that rules out 4 and 5.
Right. So
It's-
how many questions do we have left?
Three.
Three.
Three. it could be. We could clarify if it was the first in its. In the
Could we?
series.
We could ask if
Devil May
there
Cry
how many
1 was
protagonists
on
there are.
PS2. Well, that could be too nebulous, but like we can narrow it down by the fact of if it was the first Devil May Cry or if it was a later entry.
Yeah. That'd be.
Is this the first entry in a series?
No.
That leaves 2 and 3, right?
It's Devil May Cry 2 and 3.
We have enough questions to just spitball.
I have a question that could do it. It pertains to Virgil. Did this game have a brother named Virgil in it?
Yes.
Is it Devil May Cry 3?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Right
Good
at
work, team.
19.
Good job, Rob.
Good job.
Hey, no, that was
We
the Bayonetta
so down
and
to the wire.
And mentioning Devil May Cry, that was perfect.
We did it.
Yeah,
We did
that
it.
was perfect.
I'm
2 for 2,
very,
y'all.
I'm
I
very
think the
proud
shooting
of us.
part gave it away to you guys, but yeah.
Yeah, you slipped.
No,
up.
I wasn't even thinking of Devil May Cry, but once I mentioned Bayonetta and then James mentioned it, I was like, okay, we can narrow this down super well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
19, congratulations.
that brings
Hearts
us,
racing.
that brings us neatly to the end of our show. So thanks again, Rob, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me on. It was a delight.
Of course. Everyone listening to this, go and check out Draft Punks, of course. Where can we find Draft Punks again, Rob?
Thank you. So any podcast service, really, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as Twitter, TikTok, Twitch. You can find us at Real Draft Punks. Yeah, we record weekly. Episodes usually go up on Thursday mornings because Brian is a hell of an editor. The editor is doing a great job. And yeah, it's been a blast. And thank you guys for having me on. It's always nice chatting with y'all.
Great. Anything else you want to shout out real quick, or any where you can find you personally?
Myself personally on Twitter is just at Raven Name Rook, but I do want to shout out a previous guest y'all had on, Chris from Hello Hyrule. So our paths kind of crossed when I found out that he and I believe Pete is the other person on Hello Hyrule are doing a full chronology playthrough according to the Hyrule Historia of the Zelda series. And once I found that, I was like, yo, serendipitous, let's chat. Because I'm doing the same thing just because we're celebrating the 35th anniversary of Zelda. And so Crypto Zookeeper, as he's known on Twitch, but check out Hello Hyrule, please.
Absolutely.
That podcast is so great. And it's been a delight listening to and going back and hearing all these fun facts about, the toilet situation on Skyloft and why someone's ankles were wrapped as opposed to having shoes on. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that podcast is a lot of fun. I like their cover art as well. There's like a picture of them like with a map, and
it's like a travelogue podcast.
I just want to shout out something I forgot to mention about Sea of Solitude real quick. One of the coolest things about that game is when you start it up, the pause screen is literally where you left off, and so all you have to do is press continue, and you're boom, you're right there. Okay, just want to say that. Real cool.
I love when games do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Love to see it.
As for us, you can find us at YouTube, or at PS Premiere on YouTube. One word. You can see if you're watching the video version. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at PS Premiere.
Our Discord is open. Join us.
Yeah, link is in the description. Sorry, Rob.
It's delightful.
I didn't want to cut you off saying nice things about us there.
Of course.
But yeah. So we'll have a new episode of this podcast going up every week as per, and we've got other content going up through the week. Hopefully,
we just put up a awesome Kingdom Hearts tier list with me and Seb. So go check that out if you are really not tired of us talking about Kingdom Hearts yet somehow.
Yeah.
the official Kingdom Hearts channel.
That's right.
And with that, thank you for joining us once again. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.